Do me a favor, look at the person you're sitting next to, look him in the eye, look him in the eye, look him in the eye, and tell them, since the last time I've seen you, you look marvelous, simply marvelous. Somebody said I look marvelous and I feel marvelous. A number of years ago, I was sitting at my desk at the happiest place in the world, the Walt Disney World Resort, when my phone rang, and on the other end of the line was a journalist from Florida Business Trend magazine. And whenever you work at Disney, Mickey Mouse rule number one is that you never talk to the media unless authorized. Well, I wasn't authorized, and I decided to talk to the media. So the journalist said to me, Simon, where do you see yourself 10 to 15 years from now? And I said, I see myself as the president and CEO of the Walt Disney World Resort, and eventually the chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company, Michael Eisner, move over. And needless to say, he puts this in print. True story. So the article comes out, page 12, Florida Business Trend magazine, February 2002, and that day you can see bodies being thrown from the top of the corporate office. And my boss called him in the office and he's like, dude, help me, what were you thinking when you did this interview? And I said, Larry, I work at this company whose motto is, if your heart is in your dreams, no request is too extreme, for when you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. But obviously it does here. And it's funny now, but it was not funny that day. So I got a call from one of the senior vice presidents who reported directly to the president of the company, and it was like a scene out of a Harrison Ford movie, Clear and Present Danger. He says, I see you in a little hot water, do you need me to cash in a check for you? I said, no, I'll be fine. And I realized that day, ladies and gentlemen, it was probably the greatest professional mistake I had ever made in my life. Have any of you, by show of hands, ever made a mistake? Any of you, by show of hands? Okay, great. Now just look around. If your neighbor's hand didn't go up, tell them we're going to have another seminar a little later on. And the reality is I wasn't passionate about becoming the #1 guy at Disney. I was simply trying to start an internal political campaign to get the next promotion. And at the time, I was the sales director and new business development director for the Disney Institute. So I thought if I did the interview, all the powers to be would say, hey, here's Simon. We're a multicultural, diverse thinking company. Let's hook a brother up. They hooked me up all right when human resources showed up and said, would you please sign right here? So I signed this little piece of paper that went into my personnel file, and that's just that. But it was great. I worked at Disney for 7 years, and for the last few years, we've had this opportunity to really begin to teach this whole concept of how do I become brilliant, how do I become a change agent, especially in the times that we are living in. How many of you, by show of hands, would say that you are brilliant, that you are absolutely brilliant? By show of hands. Okay, 3 people. All right. Let's try this. Everybody say this one. Say, Simon says, I am brilliant. Now we're going to say it again. Somebody says, Simon says, I am brilliant. We're going to say it again with power, feeling, and conviction. I want you to put a little chutzpah in it. I want you to reach down and add a little bayou oomph to it. On the count of 3, I want you to say, Simon says, I am brilliant. 1, 2, 3. Simon says, I am brilliant. All right, turn to your neighbor and say, I'm brilliant, but I'm a little concerned about you. Okay. I am brilliant, but... A number of years ago, when I wrote the book, Release Your Brilliance, I've written several books. Release Your Brilliance is book number 6. I based it on some of the research work of Dr. Howard Gardner, who is professor of education at Harvard. Dr. Gardner and his team of researchers did an interesting study over a 20-plus year period, and what they discovered is that children up until the age of 4 are operating at the genius level. This same group of children were studied in their early 20s, and only 10% were operating at the genius, or what I call the brilliance level, and in their late 20s, early 30s, only 2% were still operating at the genius or brilliance level. So the question that you have, like I had, oh brilliant one, you do know that you're sitting next to oh brilliant one, right? Just look at your neighbor and say, good morning, oh brilliant one. Somebody said, I'm glad you finally recognize. You may be slow, but you're worth waiting on. So the question you have, like I had a brilliant one, is where did the genius or brilliance go? It didn't go anywhere, but it became buried by a society that says, color within the line, sit down, give it back, you can't do that. And the more people continue to hear what they can't do, where they can't go, and who they can't become, there's a neurological path that's created the brain that causes individuals to shut down. So what happens is people go through life having this potential, this insight, this genius, wanting to do the best that they possibly can do, and then all of a sudden they show up at a place called work. And they have potential, they have insight, they have genius. And here's what I've discovered after working with 1,000 organizations on 6 continents over the last decade. Brilliance, your insight, your potential, that thing that causes you to be a change agent is released in an environment where you are celebrated rather than tolerated. And when you are in an environment that celebrates you rather than tolerates you, that environment invites you to be a vitamin, not just an aspirin. And when I understand how to take my potential, my insight, my genius in the midst of change and be a vitamin, not just an aspirin, that I recognize that I exist at this period in history to literally create and own the moment. A few years ago, as I was starting to reflect on my time with Disney, I worked at Disney for 7 years, I recall an opportunity to have breakfast with the president. And whenever you get an invitation to have breakfast with the president while working at Disney, it's kind of like a big deal. So the invitation said arrive at a certain place at 7:30 a.m. And I got there at 6:45 a.m. I was a little bit of an eager beaver. And I walked into the room and I noticed that I wasn't the only person having breakfast with the president. I noticed that there were name cards on the table where everybody was supposed to be sitting. So I noticed that my name card wasn't next to the president. So, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Decided to do a little switcheroo. So, sure enough, 7:30 comes and I'm sitting next to the most powerful man in the Disney company. I'm like, it's like a Horseshack moment. This is my talk. If you are under 40 and you don't know who Horseshack is, just look at somebody who looks over 40 and says, what exactly is Horseshack? So I'm sitting next to him. I had this burning question I want to ask him. And at Disney, you know, first name basis. So he turns to me and says, hi, Simon. I said, hi, Al. And I said, Al, can I ask you a question? He said, sure. I said, what do I have to do to get ahead here at Disney? And he said to me, Simon, you need to know who you are, and you need to know why you're here. And ladies and gentlemen, when he said it to me, it just kind of went right over my head. I was like, really, dude? Really? I didn't say that to him. I just kind of gave him the screensaver face. But I thought about it because you need to know who you are and you need to know why you're here. And as I really begin to unpack that, because you do understand in the Socratic method of learning that the answer is in the question. Because the moment you ask a question, it immerses you on a quest to discover an answer that was waiting to emerge. So as I thought about that, the who you are and why you're here, here's the deal. When you experience change, and you have to understand that change is your friend, not your foe, change is a brilliant opportunity to grow. So the moment I experience change in my life by answering those questions, it then led me down a path of answering what I believe are the 4 most important questions that men and women globally should be answering themselves. These questions are 4 questions that we need to ask ourselves, if not daily, at least every 90 days. These 4 questions will literally change us from the inside out. These 4 questions will give us a new attitude and a new lease on life. These 4 questions. Write them down. Question number 1, where have I been? When you look at all of your time that you have been a part of this great system here in the state of Louisiana, where have you been? How have you grown? What have you taken away? And the reason that where have I been question is so important is as we move from a point and click world to a touch and swipe world, we have to ask ourselves, am I seeking broadband results while using dial-up methods? That'll hit some of you on the way home. So where have I been? Question number 2. Question number 2. Why am I here? Why am I here now? When Al asked me that day, you need to know who you are and why you're here, I was like, dude, seriously? I'm just here about the paycheck. I'm just trying to get ahead, you know? All this pixie dust, sprinkle the magic, whatever. How do I get ahead? And I totally missed it that I was there for a bigger purpose. The greatest tragedy in life is not death. The greatest tragedy in life is to be alive and not know why. And there are a number of people who wake up every single day, they show up at a place called work, the lights are on, but nobody's at home. They're one fry short of a picnic. So when I answer the question, why am I here? I discovered that as a change agent, when I answer that question, I have the opportunity to own the moment. Everybody say, own the moment. Dr. Daniel Kahneman, Professor Emeritus at Princeton University, Nobel Prize-winning laureate, says in his groundbreaking research that there are 20,000 daily moments. Just think about that, 20,000 daily moments. That's like amazing. So really, all we do every single day at work as change agents is we create a moment. We create a memory. We create a connection. And moments compounded over time create an experience. And the reality is we have to decide if the experience is average or brilliant. Question number 3. What can I do? What can you do, oh brilliant one, to take it to the next level? I was working a few weeks ago with one of the largest cell phone companies in the island of Aruba. It's about 110,000 people that live on the island, and this particular mobile phone company has over 95,000 subscribers to their service. And I was teaching this whole concept of how do we, in the midst of change, own the moment and not just settle for the status quo. And I asked them to send me an email to let me know what they were going to do to own the moment. So I got an email from a lady that says, we got a call from one of our top customers who needed some more cell phones for their office. And they said they didn't have a person to send down to our office to pick them up, but they would send somebody the next day. And she said, you know what? Your place of business is on my route home. How about if I stop by and drop them off for you later on today? And they said, you would do this? She says, absolutely. And what she said to me, she said, Simon, I realized that I can own the moment and exceed expectations. Because, see, the average person would say, that's not my job. They don't pay me to do this. Let me pass this on to the next person. But the brilliant change agent says, how do I exceed expectation and take it to another level? And to borrow a line from Emerald, how do I kick it up a notch and not just do it the way it's always been done? So when you answer that question, what can I do? There is no room for, this is not my job. Seriously? Really? You're kidding me, right? Because when you love what you do, it's not about, this is not my job. This is an opportunity to create a moment, because moments create momentum. Momentum creates monumental results. And the root word for momentum is moments. So when I answer the question, what can I do? I choose to own that moment. Question number 4. Where have I been? Where have I been? So question number 1, what can I, where have I been? Or question number 4 is, where am I going? Where am I going? So where have I been? Why am I here? What can I do? And where am I going? The backstory with question number 4 is that some people plan their vacations better than they plan their lives. And when you answer this, where am I going question, you realize that the future is created in the present. So when you arrive into the future, you call it today. But everything that you did yesterday meets you in the future and says, welcome, we've been waiting for you. So then the question is, okay, if where am I going is so important and the future is created in the present, then how do I begin to think about creating it? And I want everybody to do something with me. I want you to hold up your arm, put up your arm where your watch is, watch your piece of jewelry, watch your piece of jewelry. And I want you to take your watch off, watch your piece of jewelry, and I want you to put it on the opposite wrist. Put it on the opposite wrist. Now, if you don't watch your piece of jewelry, borrow something from your neighbor and tell him I'll give it to you the next time I see you. Now let me ask y'all a question. Let me ask y'all a question. How does it feel having to watch a piece of jewelry on the opposite wrist? How does it feel? Awkward, weird, what else? Different. Somebody saying, why are we doing this cheesy exercise? Let me ask y'all a question. Let me ask y'all a question. What time is it? What time is it? What time is it? Now that's a trick question. The most popular question at Disney is what time is the 3 o'clock parade? That'll hit some of you later on. I know we're moving quick. I know we're moving quick, all right? That's not the question. What I've discovered after working with a lot of organizations and individuals globally, the reason sometimes change is not readily embraced is because people have emotional equity in the way they've always done it. And what emotional equity looks like and sounds like is, why did he just ask me to move my watch to the opposite wrist? I have been wearing it over here forever. As soon as this session is done, I'm putting my watch back where it came from. I am so not thinking about him. I know you're not saying that. I'm just saying some of the organizations out there that I work with. So what I've discovered is because people have emotional equity in the way things have always been done, all of a sudden there's a disruption in the matrix. There's a disruption in the system. And what I discovered is change or be changed by change. So when I made the decision that I have the ability to change, all of a sudden I discover that I can create a brilliant moment. Now here's what I want you to do. Please ma'am, please sir. For the remainder of the day, I want you to leave the watch and piece of jewelry on the opposite wrist. I know this is going to irk the fire out of you. I know. Some of you are saying, whatever, whatever. Do me a favor. I want you to leave it on the opposite wrist because I want you, as you matriculate through the day, I want the watch on the opposite wrist to serve as a reminder as you go through the breakouts and workshops. What am I hearing? What am I taking away? And what am I going to go and do to create the future? And here's the thing, I just want to add just a little something else to that. If you look at me, you will quickly discover that I am all about being in the air condition in the months of June, July, and August in Florida. I am not trying to be in anybody's theme park working on my Godiva tan. However, one day I was sitting on my blessed assurance and I received a call. And at Disney, when the parks get real busy, it's all hands on deck. And so I find myself working in Disney MGM Studios on Sunset Boulevard with a blue smock on, with a broom and a dustpan in my hand. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I'm just like, I went to college to do this. I'm just, I was not feeling the love. Have you ever had days when you don't feel the love, when you don't feel it? You just don't. Now, if your boss is sitting next to you, just keep your hand out, look straight ahead, all right? I love my job. I love my job. So, some of y'all say, he is so crazy. So, I find myself on Sunset Boulevard, and I'm sweeping the streets, and I'm like, seriously? So all of a sudden, some guests are coming towards me, because at Disney, you never call them customers, you call them guests. They're coming towards me, and they see a flash of my name tag that says Simon, Buffalo, New York. And so they just get a glance over, they say, you're from Buffalo, New York? I said, yeah. They're like, we're from Buffalo, New York. I'm like, no way. They're like, what's your parents' names? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? I didn't know this people from old. Adam's House Cat became like Old Home Day. We're like, blah, 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 blah. Because this is the way people from Buffalo are. It's like, what's up? So I asked them, I said, so what have you done so far? They said, well, we've gone to Magic Kingdom, we've gone to Epcot, and now we're at MGM. And I said, okay, you gotta make sure that you do this, you do this, you experience that, you're gonna love it. And they're like, really? I said, really, it's gonna be phenomenal. And they said, okay, we're gonna do it. And we said goodbye. Well, a couple of hours later, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back at my desk drinking something cool, something cold to cool off. And all of a sudden, I have the whack upside the head. I have the V8 moment. I have what I would call the Vujade moment. I realized Disney never sent me in the park just to sweep the streets. They sent me in the park to connect with the average demographic of this particular family who had saved 3 to 5 years of their discretionary income to come to Disney for maybe once in their lifetime. And a family of 4 and an average 7-day stay will spend over $10,000. That will be so priceless to them. So it was my responsibility to create a magic moment. And when I understood that, I'm like, oh my goodness, Disney's not in the theme park business. They're in the business of creating moments. And when I really understood that, I said, why in the world am I complaining about what I'm having to do? Because it's because of this family that I can do what I do. So from that day forward, it was like this little switch, this little light bulb that went off in my head to realize that I have the opportunity to create a memory, a connection, a moment. And as the interest begins to accrue in the account of that person who's on the receiving end, they become the unofficial marketing department to say, you know what? Those people over there, they treated me special. They treated me unique. Well, why do I share this with you? Because I believe all of you are here today because in your own special way, you create moments. And you create moments when you own the moment. Owning the moment starts with you. But it's also, how do I own the moment for my team, for my department, for my division, for my college, for the system? Because moments matter. Moments are meaningful. Now, let me give you just a couple practical things, because I want you to think about if there's an opportunity for me to take it to another level and truly to be a brilliant one, what can I implement immediately? Number one, I want you to think about, how do I become a better listener? Women, you have 2 problems with men. Somebody said, are we going there? Yes, we're going there. Some lady said only 2. The 2 problems that women have with us men is men, sometimes we don't talk and we don't listen. And when we talk about ourselves, and when we listen, we have selective hearing. But that's a whole nother seminar by itself. I think all of us collectively, not just men and women, all of us can really begin to think about, if I'm going to be a brilliant change agent, how do I begin to listen and not just hear? Because the same letters that spell the word listen spell the word silent. And when I understand that, I refuse the need to be right. Because when I really listen, I'm owning the moment and really looking for, how do I serve in this moment by helping him or her become more brilliant at what they do. Number 2, upgrade your verbal software. Everybody say upgrade, your verbal software. In the midst of change, whenever the system is upgraded, and I'm talking internally now, our system, whenever our system goes through an upgrade, there is a change, but one of the things that must be changed is our verbal software, because language is the software of the mind. There's almost 1 million words in the English language. The average person uses about 1,000 to 2,000 words. If we drill down even more, there are 200 to 300 words that we use on an ongoing basis. So when I talk about upgrade your verbal software, I want us to think about the words that are coming out of my mouth. Are they helping create a moment that is positive, or is it literally causing us to regress? So when I say upgrade your verbal software, when you understand language, it's the software of the mind. You begin to speak well of a situation. Have you ever been around anybody with negative energy? You know, you just wonder what side of the bed that they get up on. You know, a woman went to a doctor not too long ago, and the doctor said, do you always wake up grumpy? She said, no, I just let them sleep in. Every single day, we have an opportunity to be mindful of the words that we use. But here's the other thing I want us to think about. Sometimes, and this is my soapbox, there is too much business business being done via email. And some people need to get up off their blessed assurance, walk down the hall, have a face-to-face conversation, or pick up the phone. I just located your address right there. We're going to hover around this spot just for a moment. Here's why I say this. Sometimes when you receive email, it causes people to end up in e-jail. True, true. You ever had days when you come in the office and you're like, okay, I'm just going to take a few minutes, I'm going to get through these emails, and then all of a sudden you look up, it's 11 o'clock, it's 1 o'clock. Where did the day go? It's because you got caught up in e-jail. Because everybody finds the need to over-communicate, and in an environment that changes, everybody adapts. Child, you know I need my job. I got the CYA. Let me copy this person and copy that person, and you copy people on emails who have nothing to do with what's being said. But I need my job. So from today forward, now I understand. I know some of the attorneys right now are like, seriously, did he just go there? Here's what I understand. I do understand that sometimes we need a written paper trail of what's been said. I totally get that. But there's sometimes, seriously, really, can you just pick up the phone? Because here's the deal, behind content is intent. And sometimes you can read an email that says, what? I wonder what side of the bed they get up on? What in the world is going on? Like, seriously? So here's the thing that I'm teaching people all over the world. Everybody say this with me. Say, Simon says, stop tapping and start yapping. Seriously. Because we have moved, ladies, according to Seth Godin, who's a futurist, phenomenal author, he's written a number of books. Seth Godin says in his latest book that just came out 30 days ago that we are now living in the connection economy. We are in the connection and the recommendation economy. And what I like to say is that stop communicating and start connecting. Renee Zellweger says to Tom Cruise in the movie Jerry Maguire, you had me at hello. And if we are an institution, if we are a system where we really care about not just the education we provide, but we care about the people we work with, do you realize you spend more time working here in the system than you do at home? Hello, somebody. Somebody just woke up right there. So if that's true, that means this is my family, and I've got to treat them with respect, because respect has no color. It doesn't. Respect has no color. And when I understand that, I look for an opportunity to create a moment, not because I have to, but because I want to. And when you have the want to, you will get a chance to. But you got to have the want to. Now, let me just say a few more things, and then I want to help you think about what's that specific thing you're going to do. If I listen, if I upgrade my verbal software, what am I going to do, number 3, to embrace the moment? Dr. Christian Mirskew, who's a part of the psychology department of Princeton University, says that when the brain is worried, the brain slows down. And when the brain slows down, it doesn't create neurogenesis, which is the process of growing neurons, which grows the brain. So when I do not embrace the moment that I am in, there is a message that is sent to the central nervous system that says I must protect at all costs. And one of the things I've experienced in people who don't embrace the moment, they operate with scarcity mentality. And scarcity mentality says, I'm going to hold on to all the information. I am not going to share. I'm going to protect my real estate right here, because if I teach you what I know, then you have one up on me. You're kidding me, right? You're kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. Do you realize that people can find out anything they want now with just a few clicks? And you think you got something going on. Whatever. I have decided that if there's an opportunity where somebody wants something that I know, because I operate in the spirit of abundance, I'm going to share it. I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to tell them everything they need to know. Because guess what? When I share with you what I know, I make room to learn more. Eric Hoffer, a noted philosopher, says, in times of change, the learners will inherit the earth, while the learned will find themselves beautifully equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. So when I share what I know, I'm operating in the spirit of abundance. I'm giving to you what you need. Everybody hold out your hand. Hold out your hand. Hold out your hand like this. And I want you to make a fist. Make it real. Make a fist. Make a fist. Make a fist. Do you realize that when I hold on to everything I know, that nothing can get in? Yeah? Everybody with me? All right, open your hand like this. An open hand is always full. Because an open hand is sharing and caring and giving and helping. When I embrace the moment, I literally unlock my inner Madagascar and I say, I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Some of y'all think I'm crazy. You know what? Everybody stand up right now. Everybody stand up right now. Yes, we are going there. We are going to unlock our inner Madagascar. Everybody get a little room, get a little room, get a little room. This is the most fun you're going to have all day. Just kidding. All right. Everybody get your hands up in front of you like this. All right? And on the count of three, I want you to say, I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Then I'm going to say, move it, get to it. Okay? On the count of three, we're going to say, I like to move it, move it. 1, 2, 3. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Move it, get to it. You can sit down. Somebody said, no, he didn't go there. Yes, we did. Because when you love what you do, you got to have fun. You got to have a little fun. So when I embrace this moment, I unlock my inner Madagascar. And if anytime I'm asked to do something, I say, I'll do it. If somebody calls, and maybe the call has ended up in the wrong department, I don't just dump the call. I'm sorry, you called the wrong department. We can't help you, click. I know that doesn't happen here. I know that doesn't happen here. Our child, I don't know why they call it here. This is the wrong department. Don't they know they need to post them numbers? I don't get out much, so you have to excuse me. A little bit sheltered, a little naive. Here's what I'm teaching. When I embrace the moment, whoever hears it, owns it. Everybody say this. If I hear it, I own it. One of the things I learned at Disney, everybody's in the trash business. If I see a piece of paper on the ground, it was my responsibility to pick it up and not wait for somebody who had the job title, the position to do it. Now, I do realize that there are some things that are not in our scope and in our realm, and I get that. You're smart, brilliant, intelligent people. But if there's an opportunity that I experience, I own it. And I own it because not only do I build the brand name of the system, but I feel better about myself. And the reason I can share this with you is 27 years ago, Mom and Dad loaded the family station wagon, drove me and my brother from Buffalo, New York, down to Atlanta, Georgia, where they dropped me off at Morehouse College. And at the end of my freshman year at Morehouse, they said, we don't have the money to send you back to Morehouse, nor do we have money to bring you back home to Buffalo, but we do love you. I'm going to realize a brother didn't feel the love. So I dropped out of school. Moved into a drug-infested community on the southwest side of Atlanta, only had a mattress on the floor, bright green beanbag from the 70s, a couple of milk crates turned over with a black and white TV on top of it with a hanger hanging out of the back of the TV. How many have a visual so far? I wasn't poor, I was po. That's 2 levels below. Brother was so broke, I walked past the bank and tripped the alarm. Probably one of the lowest points in my life on public transportation. You know, I'm just a bill, well, I'm only a bill. You know, it's one of the probably most devastating moments in my life. Now, I eventually did go back to school, finished my undergrad, my master's degree. I was just on the 10-year plan. My parents said, it took 10 years for you to finish your degree. I said, because you didn't pay, but I love you. But here's what I realized. I realized when I was making $5.10 an hour working at the Days Inn downtown where they left the light on for me, on public transportation, I had to embrace that moment because that moment would create momentum. And all of the changes that I went through, thinking that I wasn't good enough, thinking that I didn't have it all together, thinking that there was something wrong with me, thinking that, I didn't come from the right family, whatever. Do you realize the reason you exist right now in the universe, and the reason you weren't born in the 17th or 18th century is because you weren't needed? You exist right now at this moment to create moments for everyone that you would serve. And the universe would never put you in a situation if you didn't already have the capacity to be brilliant. And when you understand that you are absolutely, positively brilliant, you reach way down within you and you find the chutzpah to begin to say, you know what? I'm going to own this moment. I'm going to make it happen. The reason I share that with you is I had an opportunity to be invited to a private lunch with my mentor who's now gone on to get his reward. And I said to Zig, Zig, what is it that I can share with audiences all over the world to really help them think about how do I become more brilliant at what I do? And Zig Ziglar said to me, Simon, tell them this. If you help enough people get what they want, enough people will help you get what you want. And when he said that, I was like, wow. Because failure's not final, failure is only feedback. And feedback is the breakfast of all brilliant ones. It's not who you are that holds you back from embracing the moment. It's who you think you're not. So I invite you, my dear friends, down here in the bayou, Baton Rouge, to realize that you are absolutely, positively brilliant. And you know why I say that? 2 weeks ago, this coming weekend, I buried my dad. My dad's last words to me that I give to you is, Simon, I love you, and I believe in you. So if just for a moment I can hug you with the words from my dad, who's married to my mom for 46 years, I want to let you know, I want you to embrace this moment. I love you, and I believe in you, and there's not a darn thing you can do about it. Thank you very much.